Welcome to episode 3, Her Finance Talk. My name is Sue Diamond and I'm your host. And our goal is to help women create a better relationship with their money so they can live their best life. So thanks for joining us and investing in your financial well-being. Her Finance Talk is brought to you by the Her Finance Club, and our mission is to socialize the idea that it's okay for women to talk about money, because knowledge is power, and when that knowledge helps you become more independent, it translates to empowerment. Women empowering women is a mantra we love to live by, and one that has helped us inspire women for decades. So where would we be without each other? So today, let me welcome our guest, Dee Pitcock, founder of DDP for Fitness. DeeDee has been involved with personal training and group fitness for almost 30 years. Certifications include the ACE American Council on Exercise in personal training, group fitness instruction and lifestyle coaching, group power, level 1 Pilates, aquatic fitness, TRX suspension, and multiple modality certifications. And she is also a National Academic of Sports Medicine personal trainer. Boy, what a long list of credentials. So DeeDee uses her varied athletic background to design individual training programs that are innovative and result-orientated and implements them in friendly, focused workout sessions. So, welcome, DeeDee.
Hi, Sue. Nice to see you.
Hi. I'm so glad we had a few technical difficulties before we jumped on, but we got it all worked out. So I am so happy that you are joining us today. And I think our listeners will get huge benefit and value out of hearing what you have to share with them. So May is Mental Health Month, and this year's key message deals with wellness as well as, I'm getting a bit tongue-tied there. So wellness is essential to living a full and productive life. And it's not just about keeping healthy, but it's also about getting healthy. And this is a state of our overall well-being, which is influenced by tons of different factors. So DeeDee, as I'd mentioned, you've been in the wellness business for going on 30 years. And have seen a lot of things change in your industry. And of course, COVID, I'm sure, had a huge impact as well. So can you share with our listeners, how the industry has evolved since you've worked in it?
Oh, yes, I'd love to. So, of course, the biggest thing right now is the availability of fitness online. It used to be, it was very hard to get a trainer online and both of you have the same setup, but now it's really, really easy. I see a lot of my clients, especially through COVID, on just FaceTime or WhatsApp. I know a lot of people use Zoom and, there's tons of stuff that you can use. But also just the free stuff that's on YouTube and not to mention the subscription videos that you can purchase like through Neo or Gaia or from anything from kettlebells to yoga, TRX, whatever you want. I mean, it really hasn't affected me so much because I think people, except for the good actually, because now I'm seeing people not just in my neighborhood, but, all over the place. And even though there is a lot of free stuff available, what hasn't changed is that personal connection. And, people really value that because it's really the whole person that we're training. And we've seen a lot more people coming up, including myself, getting certifications in health coaching so we can expand our scope of practice into nutrition and sleep education and, talking about personal relationships and stress management and, mindset, which is a big one, that we were kind of limited to before. And even though like many personal trainers kind of bring this in, I think the second biggest thing is of people focusing more on the whole person, people realizing how important nutrition is to a healthy body, how important sleep is, and like I said, stress management. It's a lot more than some push-ups and sit-ups and squats and whatnot. There's a lot of facets. I like to call it my little pie chart that is important. And it used to be like where the whole pie was like, ostensibly equal pieces, ideally. But I think right now, a lot of people, the mindset piece has got to be a lot bigger for people. And I think you talk about this a lot too in your coaching, that you really have to know like what you're doing, why you're doing it. Really drilling down to the why you want what you want, figuring out first what you want, and then figuring out why you want it. Otherwise, we're like dogs looking at squirrels, just following. That looks good, or that looks good, or let me try this, and never really kind of getting into a set routine or any kind of consistency.
Right. Yeah, I think, when you talk about holistic and looking at all the different aspects and the piece, you have to look at the whole pie, and there's different areas in the pie that depending on the individual. So it's not just, I guess, a, I guess a cookie cutter approach, right? In terms of one pie fits all. It's really looking at the individual and where they're coming from. I know that's what I look at when I think about the financial side, and especially in the financial coaching, that it's more a holistic view of, the individual's wants, needs, and interests versus, okay, this is, we're going to fit you into this square hole or round peg.
Absolutely. It's so important that you meet each person where they're at. And, I have clients in their 80s, I have clients in their 40s. So it's, I'm not going to be doing a lot of the same things or talking the same way, or recommending certain exercises for a population where it just wouldn't be feasible. So,
Right. Yeah, I think one of the things that I began to see after working in the financial industry for a short while was kind of the disconnect. So what we were focused, I worked with an estate and financial planning team, and the focus was the how to. So we're going to help you and show you how to plan for your future, plan for your retirement. But also, what I was seeing was many women were, as we talk about money mindset and money beliefs, didn't consciously look at, how they valued money and what money meant to them. So what I was seeing was there was a bit of a disconnect in terms of they weren't able to go to the next step for the planning side because they needed to take care of the money mindset and money beliefs. And and just in case our listeners are wondering, well, what the heck is she talking about? So it's just, in terms of when I talk about money mindset, it's really about your overriding attitude that we have about finances. And this is what drives how we make key financial decisions every day. And it also ties into other aspects of our life in terms of the decisions that we make. But just in terms of Mental Health Month, one of the things that we've been seeing is that research has shown that women seem to suffer from money anxiety more than men. And when it comes to, finance, that can often kind of trigger that fear-based response that causes or creates the stress and anxiety, which I know we've talked about numerous times in the past, Dee.
mm-hmm.
But I think as we tie it back, and again, it can apply to all aspects of our life. It's our rational minds, when we're anxious and stressed or fearful, can push aside our rational thoughts, and then our emotions tend to kind of predominate. And this is, it's not like we can think our way out of anxiety, because our thoughts tend to feed the anxiety, right? So I know I've talked about this a lot. It's easy for our minds to kind of get the better of us and run away. And again, this is just a normal human reaction in terms of, we get fearful, and especially, coming out of the pandemic and during the pandemic, the possibility of losing our job, and, if we lose our job, not being able to pay our mortgage, to, wow, if we can't pay our mortgage, are we going to become homeless? So within a very short period of time, our brain can run through a whole slew of emotions and situations, which is our fight flight response to, a fearful situation. And I always say, this was super useful when we evolved out of the cave, but less useful today, when we're not going to be eaten by a lion, but instead we're worried about money, jobs, and relationships. So again, kind of our beliefs and attitudes and mindset are going to determine the types of behaviors that we have, which creates our results with money. And I'm sure you can speak to that on the side of when we think about our well-being, because again, it's not just emotional or mental health or physical. There's all those different aspects of the pie that tie into the overall wellness.
That's right. I was thinking of two things when you were just talking about fear, and I think I told you about this friend of mine. She was told that she should go out for a walk. Like that's a good place to start, and she was so afraid. Like she didn't deserve to go out for a walk. She was so afraid that people would see her and say, "What is she doing? Like she's wearing sneakers. She's so overweight." Like, and she had to really get beyond this fear to just get herself out the door. And that's really the biggest thing, is getting yourself out the door, hypothetically, to a trainer, to the gym, on your bike, whatever it is, like schedule it in, and then, go forward. But I think, like, when you're also talking about perception, right? And, our reality, our perceptions are our reality. So if we have to really figure out where we're at, and kind of see things with clear lenses. And I think that's where some of the stress management stuff comes in. You're saying money can be very stressful for people, and that's why everybody's talking about mindfulness right now, and trying to develop kind of a little breathing and meditation practice. People, you can't say enough about it, how helpful that can be to bring you into the present, to bring some reality back into the situation, to stop all that noise that's happening in your head so that you can move forward, not just in the moment, but later on too. So, even though my expertise is, exercise and personal training, I always bring it in about the breath, and trying to develop meditation practice as well. And it's so, I mean, it's so simple. It's not easy, right? It's it doesn't cost any money. You just concentrate on your breath, close your eyes, and you really don't need anything else. Although I know you use an app, right? And sometimes I use an app too, either just for some quiet music behind, or even a guided meditation. And again, there's so many free things out there, YouTube and books and tapes, and, paid for stuff as well. So,
And I think it really is not to, overwhelm ourselves here, because sometimes, if we're really anxious about finances, or we're really anxious about, we need to lose weight, or we need to exercise more so we're in a better place in terms of wellness. Just when we're looking at all the steps that it could take to get there, it can become very overwhelming very quickly, and that's what often prevents us from moving forward. So I think, in both situations, I think it's emphasizing that it's small steps, small steps to move you forward. And I know I have what I share with clients, just in terms of when they're anxious about money. And so I talk to them in terms of, how do you feel when you're engaging in any behavior that involves money? And just ask yourself things like, if you're looking at your checkbook, does this cause your heart to race, or does it make you feel nauseous, or do you find yourself comparing your financial situation to that of others, and how does it make you feel, and where in your body do you feel this? So I think, again, a lot of times we do a lot of comparisons, but we're not consciously thinking about why are we doing this, right? So again, it's kind of coming back and being in touch with ourselves. And I'm always about, as we begin to see or understand reactions that we have for what they are, and often, again, I go back to the fear-based and the result of maybe a past relationship with money, then we can, once we begin to accept those feelings in our body, then we can recognize that it's not permanent and that it will pass. And, it's all about, again, going back to what we can control, right? I saw a lot of clients stressed during COVID, but they were stressed about situations that they couldn't control. So it was like, what, we can't control COVID, we can't control the market. So let's take a step back and look at what can we control. So for me, it was like, well, if we start looking at making sure we have an emergency fund, then we are in a situation where we can write out some of, the situations if we're laid off, or if we're furloughed, or if we have to give up our job because our children are home. And so just, if we look at what we can control and prepare for that, then it becomes a lot less stressful when the situation arises.
Absolutely. And so, again, I was thinking when you were talking about, being able to control, being able to recognize what we control and what we can't control, and being able to accept what we can't control, and then taking steps to control what we can, is one of the big steps in building resilience. But also, I was thinking about how once we see where we are, we can make those goals. But how do we see where we are? Like, for instance, I have so many clients who want to lose weight, and they say, I eat well, and, I exercise all this time, but it doesn't really sink in until you start like logging your food on like something like MyFitnessPal, or, the Noom app is a really great app, where you see like, oh, okay, so I'm eating 600 more calories over what I'm really supposed to be eating. I didn't even recognize that I was doing that, and then seeing, okay, how can I do this better? That's something that you thought was out of your control, like losing weight, and then you recognize your patterns, and then you can start to control them. Also, another thing is like, maybe watching Netflix for a couple hours a night instead of like maybe taking one of those hours and, getting outside for a walk or doing a little workout or something, or making some other time during your day. I'm not saying Netflix is bad. It's a great way to relax. But these little habits that we can change can really make a difference in our brain. Like we can change the way we act by doing the same things over and over again. Just the way that doing the same things over and over again right now are affecting our outcomes. So for instance, like instead of, getting up every morning and having a Danish, and you think, this is how I start my day, I'm going to have some yogurt instead. And so, you say, I'm not a yogurt person, or so maybe it could be, whatever is health, a different healthy choice. And then little by little, you've changed that neural pathway in your brain. It's called neuroplasticity, that says, okay, this is what I do in the morning. And you have trained your brain now to do that. Or, going for a walk every day. I'm not a walker. I'm not an exerciser. Like, these beliefs that we have about ourselves are not always true. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. And there's a way usually to get there, even if it's not the way that people are showing you on Instagram or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I think it's very similar to, well, two things that I wanted to address when we think about outcomes. So, I often hear, clients might say, I don't have it within my bandwidth to save money, or, I spend everything that comes in, but often they haven't sat down and looked at the overall foundation of their finances. And what I mean by that is, having an understanding of what's not just coming in, but also having a clear understanding of what's going out. And, are there areas, do you make time for your finances? And, often again, it goes back to, oh gosh, no, that's going to take so much time and it seems overwhelming. You can put an hour a week away just to look at, your overall picture, or even 15 minutes a day, if it makes it easier to break it down. But it's really, understanding, taking a look at the bigger picture and kind of breaking down. There may be often what I say, I've seen it myself. That's why I have to go back and look at stuff. It's like, oh, I'd forgotten I was spending money on that. I don't need that. What am I paying for that for? And, it's like every penny counts. It's amazing. I always say, I was talking to a group of women and I was like, just dump your change out of, your purse, your wallet at the end of every day. Like, make sure when you're paying for stuff, use your notes, but then dump your change out. And I said, by the end of the month, you'll probably have between $50 and $70 in a bucket. And, what can you be using that for? I always say the greatest thing since sliced bread is compound interest. That's what helps move us forward in terms of, building some of our wealth.
I thought you were going to say shoes.
Oh. You know me too well. No, they're just an investment for me. I don't think they're worth that much to anybody else. But no, but definitely, but just little things like that, we don't realize, what a difference it can make. And I think, just going back to, as you talk about us kind of changing our behaviors, and I know it's the neuroplasticity, which refers to the brain's ability to change and adapt as a result of experience. I know that kind of ties back to when I talk, we've been talking about mindset, which ultimately, comes out of our money story, which is the story of our circumstances, which are the beliefs and practices that have shaped how we feel about money and how we deal with it and how we spend or save or give it away today. And for me, your money story has usually evolved by the time you're 9 or 10 years of age. And then, of course, fast forward, we don't necessarily consciously think about that. But if we can go back and have a better understanding of our money story, which created our mindset and our beliefs, then we're in a position to change. And again, it's not easy, but if we know what's causing behaviors and creating results that we don't want, then we can change that. And I think it's really important for everybody to understand that.
Yeah. So also, like when you talk, I was only kidding, obviously, about the shoes, but about what we think is going to make us feel better. And,
Right.
like in the moment, maybe you're stressed out and you think that either buying something, or in my case, eating something, or, you know, um, not being active will make you feel better because you're trying to self-soothe at that moment, um, and not seeing the forest through the trees, so it's
Right.
not seeing the big picture. So that might make you feel better in the moment, but in the long run, you might wake up the next day and say, I really didn't need that cupcake. I feel kind of awful. My stomach hurts. I feel kind of sluggish. I really wish I didn't do that. And if we just kind of keep doing that over and over again, and that's, that thing that we can change. And I think probably it's the same thing about money too. It's like buying these things or spending our money on something uh, in the short term is not really helping the big picture situation. And it's not like you have to always deprive yourself, but it's kind of really looking at what is going to make you healthier and get to what you really want.
Right. Yeah. I like to call that shopping remorse.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone out and online or in the shops when the sales are on, it's like, oh my God, that's got like 75% off. And you buy it because you're focused on, hey, it's got 75% off. But then you come home and like a day later, you're like, why did I buy that? I don't know if I'll wear it. It's like I use my husband as an example. He's a coupon clipper. And he will, he's always telling me how much money he's saved on the shopping, which is great. But if you bought 6 boxes of cereal that neither of us will eat or our daughter, then in reality, what have you saved? Because you've just bought stuff that obviously was on sale. But if none of us eat it, then it's really not a savings. So it's like he'll kill me if he hears me saying that. But
I won't tell.
that's just realistic. It's not a saving for the sake of it being a saving. It ties into other aspects. So DeeDee, I could talk to you all day about this, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge and expertise with our listeners. So, where can our listeners find you?
Well, I don't have a huge social media presence. I really just see clients on a client-to-client basis, and if you're interested in working with me, I have very few spots available, but you can always try and email me at DDP for Fitness. That's the letter D, the letter D, the letter P, the number 4, the word fitness at gmail.com.
Okay, great. And I will share that in the show notes as well, so people have that. So again, thank you again, DeeDee. It's been a pleasure. And just as I mentioned earlier, May is Mental Health Month, and it's a great reminder to take a few steps to help improve your financial health and make better money decisions as well as health decisions. So in celebration of Mental Health Month, we're sharing our financial self-care guide on how healthy financial self-care habits can keep you feeling positive and encouraged. So you can download the cheat sheet from the narrative in the show notes. So let me just take time to remind everyone, Her Finance Talk is brought to you by the Her Finance Club, and our goal is to get 1 million women to start the money conversation with spouse, friends, or colleagues, because knowledge is power, and when that knowledge helps you become more independent, it translates to empowerment. So thank you for joining us today, and here's to your financial well-being, everybody. Until the next time. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye, Sue. Bye.